Hey everybody, how's it going? Nice to have everyone here today, and appreciate you taking a chance to join us again, and looking forward to another week, and hopefully winding back the clock here a little bit, and just giving everyone a little level set on how we all got here, how the foundation was built, and then what the continued trajectory moving forward is. Let everyone just file in, and then uh, do a quick round of introductions, and then we'll get us kicked off.
Sounds good.
Alrighty, so we'll do a little around the horn. I will send it first to AE.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in again.
All right, Wally.
Hey guys, it's Wally. Thanks for joining.
Hey everyone, it's Bobby.
Hey guys, it's Mr. Happy Friday, y'all.
Happy Friday indeed. Great to have everyone. Let's get things kicked off. So yeah, kind of like I was mentioning a minute ago, just really wanting to take this episode, and we've had a lot of community members kind of join in the last month or so. So they may not have been here for the early days of the project and the transition period to kind of Bobby taking the lead. So wanted to just kind of get everyone with a quick level set on what the foundation was, and like the foundation of the project, and then how it continued to grow and build to this point, and then what the continued vision is for the future. Just to get to know the team a little bit better, and give you guys the confidence, and the competence and drive, and character, and just how bought in the team really is to this project and this vision. So with that, I want to just kind of transition to our first topic, which is really going to be on the early days. So Bobby, you were an OG yAxis guy. So we want to just fill people in. What were things like back then, and kind of what drew you to the project originally?
Yeah, I mean, yAxis launched last September at the end of the first DeFi summer, and it was like an exciting time where there was suddenly a wave of new projects, and everything was going through explosive growth. So it was really kind of exciting. My background in tech is as a startup founder myself in the blockchain industry, and I've been involved with another protocol previously on the infra side too. So I've been working professionally in the space for a few years now. But yeah, last year DeFi really took off and it caught my attention, just as blockchain itself had originally. So yeah, I was at yAxis from the first few days, just as an investor initially. There was definitely like a bit of an underground buzz in other communities about yAxis and this new protocol that was launching, and that kind of drew me in to the project. And yeah, it had a great vision. The founder was a smart guy. He was clearly well connected in the industry and quite experienced in DeFi, so it was quite an attractive proposition at the time. So ever since I've been an advocate of yAxis, and I've watched it grow from the very beginning, from nothing into where we are today. Uh, DeFi was pretty new to everyone back then, and people didn't really know how to incentivize or grow a community. It wasn't really common knowledge. Like everything was still very experimental then. I think that the whole industry has probably learned quite a bit from watching each other. So yeah, there's definitely some mistakes made in the early stages of yAxis. I think like there wasn't even a yAX staking pool at the beginning, for example. They hadn't given any tokens to the team, and they had a very short emission cycle. So yeah, it wasn't optimal, but yeah, that's the way it was in the early days. It was pretty exciting, and they went through a very high growth rate in the first 7 or 8 weeks of the emissions.
Awesome. And then so kind of transition into the next phase, you kind of hinted at this a little bit, but when Delta Y, the original founder, kind of had to leave the project, and you took over, kind of took the lead in December 2020. What was it like trying to build a team around you, kind of bolster that team, and stay engaged with the community, and help define the project's new vision, kind of without much support? So you were basically sort of running the not a full one-man show, but definitely wearing multiple hats at the time. So if you could describe that process a little bit.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough place to be. Delta's a good guy. Like, there's no hard feelings about what happened. He had a really good vision for yAxis in the beginning. But yeah, back in the early days, like everyone in the community, including myself, we didn't really know much about what's going on the operational side. It was only really ever Delta that kind of spoke to us, right? And actually, it turns out it was in fact just him on the team, and he had actually contracted out all of the development side of things. So after the V1 launch back in November, he had started to go a little bit quiet and was not online for a few days here and there, and people were beginning to ask questions. I'd been pretty active in the community just as the investor, and I was kind of pushing him behind the scenes, asking a lot of questions and giving ideas and proposals and such. With V2 was meant to go live at the beginning of December, and he kind of surprisingly offered me like a leadership role in yAxis, and we were going to drive this forward together. And I thought, okay, sure, like I accepted. I thought I'll go for it, try and bring my experience into the project. And it's only really after I stepped in that he kind of filled me in on the situation about what was kind of going on. Like V2 wasn't really in a good state, and there weren't any devs on the team. The multi-sigs and the mods at the time, they didn't really know much about what was going on either. So there wasn't even really like a proper team there. And instead of working with me on it together, he just kind of stepped away. So I can sympathize, because it is tough to do everything on your own, and especially to lead a tech project when you aren't a developer yourself. But yeah, it left me in a really tough spot as a newly joined project leader of yAxis. This is in like the early stages of December, and I had two choices. Like, it was either tell everyone what happened right then, or quietly build up the team and rescue the project. So Transfer and Call is really the hero of the story, because he essentially agreed to get more involved and to help me get things under control again. And he's definitely like the tech co-founder of yAxis, is the way that I describe him. So yeah, we had an agency that built out the front end of V2, while Transfer and Call developed V2 himself, like the back end. And we delivered all of that in about 7 weeks. And from there, it became a fully community source team, I guess. We started to onboard other people one by one.
Yeah, awesome. And then, could you describe a little bit maybe about what drove you to really just stay committed, even when things are kind of at their most difficult during that time, trying to really just run the show and build things back.
Sure. I mean, I was obviously a big advocate of yAxis, and I was an investor myself. Like, I really believed in it. I was definitely sold on the vision that Delta had. He was spot on with that. It was like a value add to others on the market, and I could really see a lot of potential there. So secondly, I'd say that I just didn't want to let people down as well. Having just stepped into this position, so yeah, it was tough, and I was already committed to 2 other projects at the time, so across multiple time zones as well. So I was working like 24/7. With the pandemic, thankfully, we're like locked inside anyway, so I may as well use the time to kind of work. And myself, I've got a young family at home, so there's always that pressure for me as a father to kind of keep providing. So yeah, that kind of drove me to stay committed, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah, and then so we'll move on to the next phase, is kind of building the team. So you kind of hinted at that a bit. Since your kind of involvement and really taking more of a leadership role, we've added some really talented team members. Get Gouda, obviously killing it on the front end, and we added DPK, we added Mr. How did you kind of recruit them and bring them on board? What was that whole process like?
Yeah, every tech founder knows that you've got 2 main roles in your life, right? That is fundraising and recruiting. So back in January, we thankfully had our first kind of volunteer step up, which was Mr. On the line. He'll be able to talk later, I think. And he was initially just coordinating and sourcing community content. And he became someone over time to really lean on and share the workload with. Get Gouda is like a heavy hitter front end dev from Transfer and Calls Network. So he came on board just before V2 launch. We had this agency, like I just mentioned, that was building out the V2 front end, but they weren't really doing like a very good job. And that's actually pretty typical in the tech industry. Like, these agencies, they basically hire kids off the street and then they charge them out at ridiculous rates, and they aren't actually as good as their rate would suggest. So yeah, I mean, when the front end launched in the end of February, like you saw, there was a little bit of mess. It was a little bit messy here and there, and we kind of all saw that. We didn't quite know the state of it until we started actually trying to dive into the code and fix it again. So it's now almost been entirely replaced. So yeah, between transfer and cooling and get Gouda, we've got a pretty strong dev team now. So I'm pretty pleased with that. Next up was DPK, like you said, who runs the social channels for us. And he's an experienced community manager in the blockchain world already. And he's a reliable, professional family guy himself. So he's been a great addition to the team. And yeah, we also had people like Draken and Mr. G back in the day who were helping out in the early days too. Yeah, I mean, the Champions program has been another really good thing that we started, and that's been like the final way to complement the team and round it out, allowing me and the other guys to focus on the bigger picture. So, like yourself, Cold Summer, and Wally and A, like you're doing a great job, and I think the community really appreciates how engaged and responsive we all are. So, I think that's something that I see repeatedly on the Discord. So yeah, it's been a hell of a journey to get here. I'll say that. It's like the space is pretty plagued with people who promise the world, but then they disappear as soon as they're paid. Like that's just unfortunately the reality of anons on the internet, and we've had a bit of that over the last 9 months at yAxis too. But yeah, nowadays I'm still working pretty hard, but I don't feel like it's all on me anymore, which is great. So it allows me some work-life balance and to spend some time with the family. I think my baby daughter's about to turn 1 next week, so I might even be able to take a day off for that.
Yeah, awesome. And then, Mr. I'm gonna tie you in here. Could you kind of share your story a bit as well? Bobby kind of said you came on sort of as a volunteer. What did you get involved? What keeps you going every day? And what's the future that you're kind of hoping to help build and craft for the project?
Yeah, thanks, Cold Summer. Like Bobby was saying, from the early days, I found myself as an investor as well, coming off of DeFi summer and really, getting up to speed in DeFi in 2020. It was super exciting, right? And there was so much to learn, and it just felt like the space was moving so quickly. And somehow in all this craziness, I found yAxis. And the thing that really drew me was, yes, the model, right? The vision, talking about things as in terms of, how do we build something that lasts through in a post-emissions world, right? And we wanted to make sure that, or I wanted to make sure that I could be a part of it, right? And so started talking with Bobby, and as he started taking the reins, it was clear like this guy's committed, right? And not just were we starting off as investors together, he and TNC were really driving hard through this really difficult time, and that just gave me so much confidence that I really got involved in the community. And I know I talk about community a lot, and it's really because of this, just because it was built on community, and I felt that I not only had a chance to lean on the community to really learn everything I could about DeFi, because it was everybody, like you said, Cold Summer and Bobby, everybody was so engaged, right? And everybody was so helpful, and a really tight knit community. It was it was at the same time both confidence inspiring, and also really unique, and made me feel like there was a huge opportunity here. So yeah, so I saw that there was a lot of stuff to be done. It seemed like in the spirit of community, hey, I've been working in marketing for all these years. Um, let me see if I can help out, right? So it literally just started out with me just being like, hey, let me help. Here's my skill set. Here's what I can do. Let me help. And yeah, that was well received. Obviously we're here now, Bobby. Um, but following that, we got into a really good groove, right? Started to really talk more about that new rebooted vision of what V2 and what V3 ultimately is going to look like. And at that point, I just, I was fully bought in, right? So let alone being an investor and, wanting to protect my investment, I was even more bought in at that point. So made the decision, hey, this is something I want to go full in. I want to commit all the way. So yeah, that's how I found myself here. And you know, still amazed by just, not just what you guys are able to do, AE Cold Summer, Wally, and Bobby's leadership and TNC's amazing dev work, but the community is just, it's amazing to see us grow. It's amazing to see those same feels, right? The same tightness, the bonds in the community. I feel like that's still there. So that just, it's super pleasing to see. But yeah, that's how I got here.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Mister. And I'll make a little side comment as well. Bobby kind of talked a little bit about TNC being one of the original guys who really stepped up. So TNC, also a community source guy. He really, he actually ran a security review of the original MetaVault V1 code back in the day. So definitely been involved from the jump. He really got involved because he was kind of a little frustrated by Yearn's lack of responsiveness to the community in regards to the link vaults. So again, just people here that want to build something here for the right reasons and really just source from the community and just kind of sharing the vision. So for now, just looking forward, I'll probably swing it back to Bobby. Kind of as you continue to push the project forward, what lessons do you still take with you from the early days?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say that Delta Y had the idea for the MetaVault, right, as the original founder, but Transfer and Call is his vision for these canonical vaults and using delegated strategies and supporting assets like Link. Like you mentioned, Yearn had kind of tried them, but he didn't really give them much attention or much love, and that's definitely left a gap for us to fill and position ourselves going forward. So that's where we're pretty focused on for the future. What lessons did I take with me? Yeah, I mean, with tech projects, things always take longer than you think, right? Before I got into tech, I thought it's just like, you press a few buttons and it kind of all happens, but yeah, the reality is things always take longer than you think and nothing's ever perfect. So it's important to keep people motivated and have the right people around you on the team and to continuously look and plan ahead down the roadmap. In DeFi, I think definitely I would say don't be afraid to change, because it seems like every platform, including yAxis at the beginning, there's this kind of onus that any decisions or tokenomic models that you have at the launch, they're binding for the rest of time, and it just doesn't have to be like that. Especially when we're in a rapidly developing space, you should be constantly learning and evolving whatever you're doing. Something else we did was that we chased the wrong audience. So I'd say to value your community and investors that have a similar outlook to you and don't need news every single day to keep them interested, because you're always going to lose that type of investor, right? You're never going to be able to keep them happy forever. So DeFi is continuing to see lots of capital flow into it, so there's no real rush to deliver anything. And I guess on that same point, I'd say that I'd rather have the one developer, one backend developer, rather than like 3 agency crappy ones. In DeFi, things can go wrong in a flash, and it's critical to have experience and like a more mature outlook, rather than just trying to make like a quick buck. And we've seen countless examples of that in the space in the last 6-12 months. Yeah, and I guess finally, just to be a leader, just to remember that the people on the team they're real people. They've got families, they've got lives, they've given up jobs to be here in some cases. And similarly, the investors or the token holders, they've put their savings into a project, and you need to respect where that time and the money's come from. I think it's been a common thing in the space where people raising money, they've closed things like over a weekend. There's been so much like FOMO from funds trying to get into these projects, and they're just throwing money at projects and they're closing super fast. But yeah, one of them said to me recently, like it's really nice that we're actually kind of respecting the money and respecting the process rather than like throwing demands at people. So yeah, there's definitely some lessons that we've learned in the past, and it's just a good idea to keep on learning, I guess.
Awesome. And then with that, kind of given all the work that you've put into date and some of the initiatives that you kind of just described and the approach that you just described, what's kind of got you most excited about the future?
Me, yeah, I mean, I've been in blockchain for years now. Like I said, I've been in the space for like 3 years, I think, and it's been generally pretty slow adoption rates, like much slower than everyone expected. A lot of the base tech wasn't really in a usable state at scale. And enterprise are definitely interested. They're doing a lot of POCs through like innovation departments, but not really proper line of business apps. So what's been really exciting for me as a builder previously is the acceptance of DeFi amongst the mainstream quite quickly. We've seen institutions taking it really seriously as a way to generate better yield than before. And these financial services, they're really competitive, right? Like it's not just between companies, it's also between the managers themselves. Everyone wants to outperform each other and get one over their mate. So it's like these people themselves that are directly driving the adoption of DeFi, and that's been critical because it feels like things are accelerating. They're not slowly progressing like it was in blockchain. Ever more people and resources are coming into DeFi all the time, and so I've kind of positioned yAxis now to capture that from the retail and the institutional world. But yeah, if you look beyond the DeFi market, and we want to cater to traditional investors as well, because that's where the sustainable future is, and that's also where the big money will come from eventually. And I hear that message actually constantly from investors that we talk to. They just want to support the space. They're not really focused on short-term speculative gain. They just want to contribute to the overall space maturing because they definitely see that as the future, and they understand that they won't be able to compete probably in the long term. They need to do something about that. And why is that really important? Like, why does that make me excited? It's because it's because of DeFi, right? That we're seeing things like cross-chain implementations or L2 solutions. So that's really, really key because now we can bring those innovations to other use cases of blockchain, where before they weren't really viable at scale. But now they can be because of DeFi, because of that growth it's going through in applications like data security or identity management and stuff like this. So it's really DeFi that's been like the trigger, I think, for the whole of blockchain.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Bobby. So with that, we're going to roll into the predetermined questions. I mean, that was a fantastic intro, and hopefully, everybody kind of really learned something there, especially people that might have joined a little later on and got to hear kind of things a little bit more from the jump and how it's evolved to date, and then how we're looking to continue to pivot in the future. But so first question for the question that we're asking in advance is from Zemus. Remember all those good times, all those great times you had, and all the things you hope to be. Greater times are still ahead, King. We'll move into the next question now. Sushi T, great question. How are the canonical vaults coming along? I'm a technical noob, but I'd love to get some high-level insights on how they're being developed and what the biggest challenges are. So, I caught up with TNC, and basically, a few of the major highlights accomplished to date are the vault tokens are going to be ERC 677s, which like right now the MVLT token is not it's an ERC 20. So moving to 677s will just make it more gas efficient, more user friendly, and better for composability, especially if we want to try to have some of these lending market integrations and using it as collateral, making it just a better user experience and more composable would be a huge lift. And then a couple other things would be like a halt flag that was added, which is an extra emergency security feature. Basically, in the case of if there was ever like a worst case scenario, malicious governance takeover, then it'd be an extra security feature that's in there as well to protect everyone's funds. So that's like another nth degree security feature as per TNC's that's in his wheelhouse. So and then the last thing would be like the legacy controller, which basically helps connect the current MetaVault to the V3 stablecoin vault. That way users won't really have to switch if they don't want to and kind of spend the extra gas to withdraw and convert over. So, and then the major things kind of on the horizon would be just increasing automation, which is obviously going to be an iterative effort over time. But the primary focus right now is on the automated monitoring and response system, just to improve security and really just giving institutions that automated oversight that they'll really eat that up. And then also automating the harvest as well. That's like another more near-term focus. And then another thing would be gauges, because that's obviously a big feature for V3. So providing more token utility, a little more longer term alignment with depositors. So, Curve, as Bobby kind of mentioned last week, Curve open source the code, kind of helping us save us some time in integrating that. So that's obviously a huge lift. And then from there, just looking to, just testing and audit, really the last hurdles there. Waldorf and Sats asked, curious to hear the backgrounds of the development team, respecting the fact that they are anonymous. Transfer and call. Obviously, the lead Solidity developer of the project, really just security focused, community source, like I mentioned before, doing that initial security review of the MetaVault v1 code, works for a high profile blockchain company as well. And then Get Gouda, again, also works for another high profile blockchain company. Rockstar front-end developer, built and managed several leading Web3 applications. So obviously, and you've seen it, I mean, just responsive to the community. If people have, if it's a common issue among users, just really working to improve that. The APY versus APR on the UI, or some of the other things that have kind of come up in the past couple of weeks, just being super proactive about correcting that and improving the user experience as much as possible. And then Vinrock as well, as a UI UX designer, ex Apple and Facebook. So moving on from there, another question is, Mr. sounds like a cape name. Are you a hero or a villain? So I will pass that over to Mr. himself and let him answer that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Shout out to whoever asked that SK on that question. Is there an option C? Can I say none of the above? I truly believe, I think the heroes of this project are really, Bobby and TNC. They came together and Bobby had the foresight to really, see that the project definitely needed somebody to step up. So, option C, I'm not the hero. I'm definitely not a villain. I hope nobody sees me that way based off my name. But yeah, if anything, I'm the Robin Hood to Bobby and TNC being the Batman.
Awesome. And then, so start moving into some of the live questions. Again, if you see some ones that you like, feel free to call those out. We'll try to take, the ones that are here and then probably look to wrap things up in the next 10 minutes or so. So Richard R asked, does the team have any targets for TVL? Is hoping to achieve once canonical vaults are implemented? I would say to that, like, it's hard to give a time target, like, a 1 week mark or something like that. But if you check out YIP 9, so the yAxis improvement proposal number 9, that whole the whole logic and theory behind that targets, like, gives you some idea of the targets that we're really looking for. And then also the canonical vaults episode that we did for You Heard, and then the weekly yAxis also talks a little bit about some of the TVL that's on the market that we'd be looking to target, whether that be Link or Ethereum, especially Link, because, like, there's really no place to park your Link right now because it's just Bancor, but Bancor's full. So obviously built to operate at scale, built to operate billion plus TVL. So that's obviously the goal. And then just looking to, you could see the TVL on the market that we could easily outcompete. So it's really just about, just launching the product and giving a good user experience, and then the rest should kind of take care of itself. Bunch of positive comments. Really appreciate that. And then Newt 9, are there any future plans for additional marketing to restore? I believe it's more like token price as opposed to maybe volume, but volume and price, I guess, coming together. Entering the next era. So I could probably swing that one to Bobby if you want to take it, given the approach there, but I can also add things as needed.
Yeah, so it's not just marketing, it's different things that we can do on the technical side, or the way that we do things with the tokenomics. I mean, a lot of these issues kind of fix themselves in era 2 with the gauges. where you do have to lock in your tokens for a period of time, just like Curve, in order to get some of those rewards. So yeah, people aren't so quick to sell their principal. But yeah, I mean, the main thing right now, of course, is the wider market deflation, which is going down, and that's causing a lot of panic in people, and just big accounts selling a lot of tokens, unfortunately. And these are tokens that were farmed back in the day, back in September, October time, for not a lot. So there's some accounts out there that owned a lot of tokens, and when they unload, that causes a bit of a problem. So I'd say that currently we're probably kind of waiting for that to be finished, because we don't want to pull a lever and then just someone use it to sell into it and kind of spoil it, as kind of happened a little bit with the first winter stash. Like we turned things around and everything like shot up to $35 again for the token, and all that happened is that same account just then increased the amount they sold and just sold into it essentially. So we don't want that to happen again. So yeah, there's lots of things that we can do. We'll just wait until it's going to be the most effective. So I mean, me myself, I'm still an investor in the project. I'm still compounding away, building up my own personal stack as well, and that's what I suggest that other people do, because we can pull levers at any time and make the price kind of recover. Where that fits within the wider market, I can't say. It's going to be a difficult time for everybody if things go into a proper bear. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But we'll keep plugging away and building up towards the vaults. I'd say that really the vaults are going to be so critical for us, the canonical vaults, because there's huge demand for people wanting to park their BTC and Ethereum and Link through any kind of dip, rather than sat idly doing nothing. That at least rather be earning some yield on it, right? For years. So I think there'll be definitely a lot of demand for that product, and then we'll be able to turn a corner.
Yeah, awesome. I think definitely looking forward to the V3 launch, and I think that will return some hype. And like Bobby said, I think just timing is everything on that move. So just looking forward to movements around little later in the era, and ramping toward V3 and driving that additional token utility. I mean, you've seen curves like hyperinflation in their token, but since they really have that utility around the gauges, their token prices continue to perform well. So just adding the gauges and the locking and the utility, driving utility to the token is key. So looking forward to that in Era 2. Crypto Force One asked about their plans to integrate in the Polkadot ecosystem or other chains. Polka specifically right now is not really a whole lot to really farm over there. These other chains in general, that's kind of once we get sort of V3 launch, that's where a lot of the development resources are at right now. Once we get kind of V3 launched, then we can start to really look at expanding out to maybe other chains or L2s. It's definitely the community and the team have their eyes closely on that stuff. So basically just kind of stay tuned, get V3 launched, commit the development resources in the best way possible at the moment. Obviously the best way possible is getting the flagship product out there and getting the flagship vision out there. After the great harvest, what are some marketing campaigns to reach out to new investors? So I mean, I think Bobby kind of talked about that a bit. Just looking to probably pull some strings a little later in the era, and then in addition, just looking to the gauges are going to have ridiculously high staking APY. I mean, it currently is ridiculously high staking APY, but using that as like driving more utility to the token, and the flagship product launch, and those are things that we can build around as a community and as a project. So I think that will be a big thing. And like Bobby said, he's been working, speaking with different potential investors, and I think once that product gets out there, I think those conversations become even easier. So I think that will sort of resolve itself over time. And in addition, I mean, we touched on this briefly, but the the partner program for vault deposits as well is kind of in the works. So looking at that. So many things in the works to be kind of released over the coming months in due time. And then NFT launch pads. I'm not sure that really is really core to the product and the market that we're the project's looking to target. I mean, if you want to come up with a proposal and toss it in governance, I'm sure we'll be happy to talk about it. And if you think is close relation to the the current market vertical that the project's operating in, then we can draw that connection. Then sure, go for it.
I think he might have meant Champions Table NFTs. And in which case, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it. I think we'll just keep it simple though for the NFTs. So no exquisite stuff. It's more about the art and the experience of winning a prize than about having something that actually has a real purpose. It's not supposed to have a financial incentive built into it.
Yeah, awesome. So probably look to make this last question the last question. So do you guys think it might be a good idea for future seasons to integrate a function of different level positions like peasant, knight, nobleman, etc., which might reflect the different level of involvement the person had, resulting in bigger staking rewards, etc. I think there's a lot of built-in incentives right now that are incentivizing early adopters, and the Champions Table is probably going to have a component of that as well, maybe rewarding OGs. But basically, just the longer you've been staking, the more you've been involved, like the more you've been able to grow your stack, and you're gonna feast a little more later on as we move into the flagship product launch and in Air 2. So I mean, I think that sort of solves itself. And then we also have the Champions program, which is that. But generally speaking, I think we want it to be not really rank and file in the community, and more just like everyone has a voice, everyone is able to contribute as they see fit. And then and again, like the gauges are going to have a time lock component, so there's going to be all these different. In the Great Harvest is another one that there's a time involved component, and there's a diamond hands component there as well. So it's kind of just there's multiple different ways that's kind of being integrated, but I don't know if we want to really explicitly kind of create roles. And I think it's sort of just everybody's involved, everybody's welcome, and everybody's welcome to contribute, and no one's voice is really worth more or less than anyone else. So I mean, I think we've done a great job incentivizing community involvement, incentivizing long-term vision, and people that are going to be around and continue to compound and grow their stack and just buying into the vision. And I think we're seeing that. So really appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today, and again look to see you all around in the Discord and staying involved, and hopefully you learned something today about how we all got started. Thank you again for your time. We'll be in touch next week.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Guys, nice weekend.
Enjoy your weekend.